join the Prime Minister in paying tribute to Corporal John Moore, to Private Sean MacDonald and Warrant Officer David Markland, who've been killed in Afghanistan this week. Their deaths now mean that more people have died in this conflict than were killed in the Falklands War, and it's a measure of the scale of sacrifice being made. Our armed forces need to know that they have all our support in the vital work that they are doing. Can I return to the question raised by the Honourable Member for Bolton South East? This morning, local councils, controlled by all parties, have said the Prime Minister's plans on social care, and let me quote, are unclear, unfunded, will lead to possible cuts, rises in council tax, they have major weaknesses, and crucially will raise false expectations amongst many of the most vulnerable. Now, everybody wants to do more to help with care, but why does the Prime Minister think? Why does the Prime Minister think that so many of the people responsible for delivering this policy are so completely unconvinced by what he's put forward?
Mr. Speaker, his party supported this bill as it went through the House of Commons. I don't know if he's done another U-turn in policy over the last few hours. But Mr. Speaker, we have set aside £670 million in the next year. 420 million will come from the health service to providing that care for urgent needs. Now, I know how much he likes personalising politics, and I know. Of course, I know how he hates. I know how he hates Punch and Judy politics, and I know how much he wanted to build a consensus, as we had for a week on the economy. But surely it is in the interests of this House that we are united in the way we help all people in their own homes. And surely a party that supported the policy one week shouldn't be opposing it the next week.
If he's going to have pre-prepared jokes, I think they ought to be a bit better than that one. Probably not enough bananas on the menu. We have consistently raised questions about the funding of this policy, and just this morning a Freedom of Information request from the Treasury shows this could put £26 on the council tax. And I have to say to the Prime Minister, it's not just Labour councillors who are angry about the way the policy has been put forward, but Labour peers as well. Lord Lipsey, he was a member of the government's own Commission on Care, and he says this is one of the most disorderly pieces of government I have ever seen. Lord Warner, who is the government's own health minister, described the policy as a cruel deception to the elderly, the vulnerable and families. So can the Prime Minister explain why is it that Labour councillors, Labour advisers, Labour ministers are all angry about the Prime Minister's mishandling of this?
Mr. Speaker, when he knew what Lord Warner and others had said about it, why did his party support it in the House of Commons? He cannot one day say he supports a policy and the next day have a completely different policy on a very important matter. Mr. Speaker.
Order. I apologise for interrupting the Prime Minister. There is far too much noise in the chamber. I want questions and answers to be brief and focused on government policy, and I want to get down the order paper. Let's have a bit of order for the Prime Minister and others. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've had U-turns every day of the month from the Conservative Party. They said it was moral cowardice not to cut and tear up our budget for 2010, and then they change their mind and take a different position. Now, on this, are they really going to say to the elderly of this country that they voted for this measure in the House of Commons, they've urged their people in the House of Lords to vote for it as well, and now they're refusing to support what we are doing to give local authorities and the elderly an extra £670 million a year? Now, as I understand it, the Shadow Health Secretary asked for talks with the Health Minister so that there could be consensus on this issue. It's only last night that they've broken the consensus. And Mr. Speaker, they had to bring down a poster that they had at the beginning of the year because it was not authentic. They will have to bring down the new poster because it's simply wrong.